Hey folks, Todd.LIVE here. We are live on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube. Just got rid of the opening thumbnail. My friend today that I'm bringing on is Jeff Fitzgerald. I met Jeff at Social Media Marketing World. I'll introduce him. Let me get the podcast going. As you know, this is a live video with a podcast inside it for the Entrepreneur Live Video Podcast. So let me play some music, get the podcast going, and I will bring Jeff in with an intro. Stay with me, folks. 3, 2, 1. Hey, folks, Todd.LIVE. Today on Entrepreneur Live Video, I have my friend Jeff Fitzgerald. Let's play some music and bring him in.
You are listening to Entrepreneur Live Video with Todd.LIVE, broadcasting from sunny Southern California. This is a place where the most talented online live video personalities and marketers share what works for them as live video becomes the most effective megaphone to the world man has ever known. Without further ado, here is your host, Todd.LIVE.
Yeah, so we already have a couple viewers on Periscope and YouTube. Facebook sometimes is slow to bring people in. Folks, on the podcast, you are listening to a recording of a TriCast, a live video TriCast, where here on Tuesday, March 20th, I am going live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope with a friend, Jeff Fitzgerald, who is a Wirecast master. I met Jeff at Social Media Marketing World 2018 down in San Diego, California, and let me tell you something. He is doing stuff that will just, it just dazzles you how he works Wirecast in creating as a layman, as somebody who is not, well, he might be a trained professional. We'll get to know him a little bit better, but he is like me, I think, where we're teaching this stuff to ourselves as we go. And he's really pushed the envelope on some really cool productions. He does productions for a football league, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. You would think you were watching ESPN, and he's creating this in his own studio that he's built on his own, taught himself. It's really quite amazing. I've already got him on camera for folks on live video. Jeff, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Coming to you from Northern Virginia. It's snowing here. Last week it was Miami, like 60 degrees, and now we've got the snowplows out. So I wish I was in LA with you. It's
crazy, the weather. And you know what? We're going to get pounded. We're getting this big major storm coming in, and we're just getting absolutely pounded here for the next 4 days. It hasn't started yet. It's nice and sunny today, but it's coming. So tell me what, you are a live streamer. You do some really awesome stuff with Wirecast, which I've already mentioned. Let's go back to the very beginning. What got you started as a live streamer?
Well, I will start with saying that you're half right. I have taught myself the majority of what I've learned, no formal training, but I have a big history in media. I've been in it for over 30 years. I started because my mom, who taught me a lot, was a television producer in the 70s. And I was 7 years old running through radio news stations in D.C. And I remember getting smacked in the back of the head for playing with the cameras at CNN one time and, things like that. So I do have a history in media. But live stream, as we all know, is very different. And that's kind of the hook where people are trying to figure out, like, what do I do that looks a little more original, that is not like everybody else? And the challenge with that, Todd, as you know, is that right now we're in this sea of digital selfies, right? Everybody's doing the same thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But I have a sneaking suspicion at some point storytelling is going to make its way back for everybody, because the tools are no longer a barrier to any of us. It's now really kind of just getting comfortable with it and learning all about it and finding a way to use it to your advantage.
Yeah, well, and I think to your point about the barriers, I think you're in a home studio, correct?
I am, yeah.
And you've got what looks like you're at ESPN headquarters in the background. So, in talking about removing the barriers for people out there who may not know what you're doing to achieve that effect, why don't you share with us a little bit about what you're doing to get that effect?
Absolutely. Well, there's a number of cool products on the line out there that you can get. There was Mimo Live that's made some advances. They're trying to do chroma keying and things. I decided in November pick up Wirecast. It looked like a very robust piece of software. There was, some challenges with it I would read about in the forums and things like that. But so far, I've been really happy with it. This is obviously real-time chroma keying. I'm on a painted 8-foot by 8-foot square. This is kind of my desk where I do my live work with. I do a lot of video mentoring. I frame myself as a business video mentor, and then I have a 12-foot green screen over here with a teleprompter because I do a lot of online news for business and things like that. And, Wirecast has really been kind of a cool centerpiece because I was really surprised at how good it is for the cost. I mean, sometimes in forums, Todd, you'll see people say, oh, my God, I don't want to pay $100 for this software, or vMix is that much, or whatever. But the reality is, in media, you're still going to get what you pay for. And I think Wirecast, for me, has been a very good product to get. And, you can see for yourself, it's looking pretty good. But some of this is just being smart, making your lights match your background, things like that. It's just it's been really good, including my phone here, which I will mute. So
oh yeah. So you got started with Wire. You may have told me this, and folks, Jeff and I got to hang out. We met at Social Media Marketing World, which was just like 3 weeks ago. And we got to hang out some in between the shows, and he and I had one lunch. And we, like I said, I mean, if you add it all up, we might've gotten to hang out for about 2, maybe 2.5 hours in this whole show that lasted 4 days. So we're brand new friends, and we have a mutual respect because we both use Wirecast. We both push the tech. I'm just dazzled because I think that Jeff does things that I am not seeing many other people do, if anybody at all. And it's fabulous. And what blows my mind is you started with Wirecast in November you said 2017?
Yeah, but here's the trick, though, right? This is the part of the story because you and I don't know each other, as lifelong friends that we will here in 50 years.
Right.
The reality is, I am actually coming from the other side. My professional work has always been in either broadcast or non-broadcast video production. Or in 1994, I got into Web Zero. I worked in the internet for 13 years. I think I got sick of Internet Explorer trying to code for that, and I got back out of it. But I was even doing video on the internet as it came out with real audio, real video, things like that. And so I've always been around the online kind of part of it. So I'm coming from the other side. The reason why I really, really love what you're doing, because I noticed that you were one of the few people who was actually really trying to get a broadcast look. And I'm obviously a fan of where I come from, and I think it's a very cool thing. It's not for everybody. I mean, obviously harsh lighting and things like this, it doesn't work if you're trying to do a DIY craft show or something like that. But my market, my audience are people that want me to do news for them, or this sports show that I'm doing for the A7FL, or any number of things like that. So for me, this is my look, and it works really well. And Wirecast has been a big part of that. So
I love it, and you're right. We are coming from different sides, and I'm trying to do a mix. Like, I want a mix of the raw and like, what I want my stuff to look like is that anyone can do it. Like it's elevated above the majority of people who are just holding up a cell phone. And, I do some nice banners, and I can get into Photoshop or Canva, and create some stuff and bring it into Wirecast. I can do some switching on. That's another thing too is, and I think you do yourself is, there's people out there who want to have people switch for them. I want to do the switching myself. And it might not be as elevated. It might not seem as polished. But again, if I'm selling to somebody, hey, you've got a pizza parlor and you want to create some live videos and commercials and things for YouTube, and you want to have your own studio and you want to have people come on, or you've got a wine store or whatever it is that you're doing, you can create something that is very elevated and really gives you a nice look, but it's still something, one, that you can do by yourself.
Absolutely.
And it can have some rawness to it. It's, but I am dazzled. I mean, I see the stuff that you've done with the football, and it just blows my mind. And I want to be able to do that too. But I think there's going to be, for me in my thing, it'll be a time and a place for the extremely polished, and there will be a time and the place for, hey, let's kind of roll up the sleeves. And I think that's for all of us. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. I was just going to say, so let's break that down. Polished and dazzle. This is a really crazy thing to say. And you'll see there's a lot of great videos on YouTube where people will tell you how to, shoot with your phone and things. Great example. Take your phone, and when you go outside, hold it up in front of you, take a look at yourself, and rotate yourself around where the sun is around you. And you'll get a really quick idea on whether or not you're looking really good or really bad, because it's really the small aggregate things, when they're all put together, the small steps, I think, really make something look really big overall. It's the little attention to detail, and it doesn't have to be overblown. Obviously, this is my world. Like I said, I in addition to producing, I do media training through digitalheroes.tv, and it's one of these things where I want it to look, certain level and things like that. But the reality is, anybody can do this. Right now, I'm sitting in a basement of a home 45 miles from Washington, D.C. at the base of the Blue Ridge Mountains on gigabit fiber internet.
Right.
And I talk and interview with people all over the world, and I produce shows that people find really fascinating for them. So it's not something that anybody has to say, well, oh, I don't have the right internet speed or the right phone. The reality is you just got to try. You just got to begin. You can't be afraid of live video. Here's a big secret, Todd. You and I, again, we're trying to learn a little bit about each other. I was doing video at 15 years old in my room the way kids are today. I've got video. I got snapshots of me doing a football show in 1983 with like Darth Vader hair.
Right.
And the reality is I still get really nervous doing live because I think that's what we're supposed to do. You're concerned about what you're communicating, how you sound, are you too stiff? And that's, sometimes I think that's, kind of what I face because I kind of try to come into this, framework of news and things. But the reality is you have to be yourself and you have to try, and you can't be afraid for people to see you learn in your journey and go for it, because that's where you're going to get ahead.
I'm completely with you. When we were at Social Media Marketing World, the room that had all the tables where you could go sit at the live video tables, I had 3 people that over the course of the event that had never gone live that I was like, hey, you got to get your phone out and do it right now. Yeah. And, oh, well, I can't. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And nobody's going to want to hear me. And I was like, no, I would bust through all that. And I did. And we got them on and they had the time of their lives. It's kind of, I equate it to when I was a kid, I was in your neck of the woods. I was over in Calvert County, Maryland at my grandparents' house there in a place called Sinus Cliffs. And I was at the Calvert County Country Club, which is down the road from Sinus Cliffs. But they had these huge high dives. This is back in the day when children weren't pampered. And they had these huge high dives. And I wanted to jump off one. And I can't tell you how many times I climbed up to the top of it, climbed back down in shame. And I finally jumped off. And it was like, I don't know what the big deal was. And live video is that way. A lot of us get in the way of ourselves. And it's just use what you've got and just go, like you said.
Well, you're so right on with that. I mean, it's like I have this, and I forget who said it. It may have been Mark Twain, but I love this saying that I used to worry about what people thought about me until I realized one day they just didn't. And so anytime you get this bubble ego, you're like, oh, I'm a something. The reality is what the internet has brought to us is the ability for every one of us to have this great 50,000 watt antenna, to be able to broadcast. So now there's millions of antennas all around the world for your listening pleasure. But the reality is that what are you playing on your radio station? Are you playing the same song that everybody else is playing? You're going to get lost in the crowd. Are you playing on, with AM quality when you could be doing FM with just a little more effort? What are you doing to differentiate yourself? There's so many little things here you can do. And the reality is I don't think that the bridge is so distant between baseline and really compelling, really good, really engaging content. It's really just about finding who you are. What is your message? We hear these buzzwords all the time, authenticity and it's the branding and the marketing. All those things are true. But at the end of the day, people don't buy what you're selling. They buy you and they buy your vision for what you can do for them. There has to be a transformation in someone's business life, not a transaction or just transporting them to the next milestone. They want to get something for that's beyond just the dollar and the product. And if you can do that and you can use live video to do it, that's great. And Todd, I even tell a lot of people, live video may not be for you in the beginning, right? I mean, for me, I prefer to produce more polished content, even if it's pre-recorded, and put it out because it sets my brand in a certain, vein of thought. But the reality is, if you're in a position where you're afraid you're going to goof up or you're not going to say the right things, record it and put that out. Get used to seeing yourself in the timelines. You'll see people say, hey, you did really good. I didn't think that was something that you were going to be able to do, or wow, look what you've done. And now you got a little bit more confidence. It's like throwing the short 5-yard passes in a football game, and now you're throwing bombs down the road. But you got to start.
You've got to start. You've got to have confidence in yourself. You can talk about anything. I tell people fluff sells. People that don't believe that they have a message. It's like, well, just go on there and talk about fluff. And what I mean by that is, it can be, Coke versus Pepsi, things that are where people have a passion, right? Miller Lite versus Bud Light, if you're a beer guy. There's things that you can talk about that are just random that happen in your life all the time. When people at that table would show up and they were like, well, I don't know what to talk about. I told them, I said, well, first of all, they're serving me Pepsi here at Social Media Marketing World, and I'm sure it's the convention center that's catering this. And I take offense. I don't like Pepsi. So I could talk about that. And I'll get as good of results, if not better, as far as feedback goes on a discussion about Coke versus Pepsi than I will about you need a live stream for your business, because people can relate to that. And as you use the fluff to relate and build your friendships, then you can start slipping in. You're always slipping in. You don't start. You're always slipping in. Whatever it is, you got a pizza parlor, wine shop, live video guy, whatever it is you're doing, you slip it in. It's not a hard sell. It's a, hey, as you said, people want to buy from other people. They want to get to know you. They want to know how you're going to move them, and you move them in all sorts of ways. How you improve their life, whether it's, whatever you're selling them, but also entertaining them, having them share a laugh, share a cry.
Exactly it. Yeah.
Take them on your journeys, your adventures, social media marketing world. I mean, what a great place to do a live video.
Oh, it was wonderful. I mean, it was incredible. I don't know if I told you the story about my decision to go. I decided to go the day before, which is obviously really smart from a money perspective.
Yeah.
I saw Mike Russell, who does these incredible Adobe Audition tutorials.
Love that guy.
Radio guy. He's an awesome guy. He's standing on the beach in San Diego. I think it was Monday evening. And he's like, I love it here. It's going to be great. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get there. And so made it happen. I got there Tuesday. And it was the best week I've had in a long time. Met a lot of great people, you included, just a wealth of information. And more than anything, what I really discovered was if you can't pull your phone out and do live video there, then you probably shouldn't be doing it anywhere, because nobody's going to look at you pulling your phone out there. And it was great seeing people go for it, learn. And I know I walked up to you at that table with the one gal who was very concerned about what do I do and all, and you were sitting there like, look, let's just go live, and you were like, boom, and she's like, hey, now it's happening.
She had fun, right?
Had a wonderful time, and that's all it takes is just finding it. And the only thing I would say to couch kind of the context of when we talk about live video is, I have a saying that, back in the 1800s, nobody ever said in marketing, hey, let's do phone, right? Doesn't make any sense, right? So when you talk about doing live, that's the connection to the world, but you got to put something through that tunnel. You've got to have content to go with it. And so for me, my focus is really upstream in the media part of it about what are you trying to communicate, whether it's the nonverbals of what your room looks like or how you look. Do you look grumpy or happy? How do you elevate your brand in the simple things? And then if you want to do graphics, don't use purple and yellow together and use fonts that nobody can read and, little things like that. So there's a lot you can do, and it just takes, really deciding what you want to do first and then taking that step. And then if you get in a place where you need help, there's millions of resources, YouTube, Sean Cannell, there's so many great people who are doing things. Owen Video, an awesome guy. You're going to learn a lot from these guys. And then if you need help and you want live one-on-one training, that's what I do at digitalheroes.com. And so I should make that my voice for the commercial. So, But the reality is there's great resources everywhere, and you're going to be able to find someone along the way to help you in your journey. So, my whole mantra is every great story has a hero, and every great hero has a mentor, and I'd like to be your mentor. So,
hey, there it is, folks. And let me tell you something, what I'm seeing, I mean, whether you want to start small or if you want to go big, Jeff has it down. He's nailed it, particularly on the big. I think I've only seen the big. I haven't seen the small, but I don't need to see the small. I know that if he can do what he's doing, what I've seen him doing, he can do everything below it. He takes the bar to a certain distance. Jeff, I have to ask you, this is kind of pivoting in a way that I didn't know that I'd go today, but as somebody who grew up with family, parents that were in media and in the environments that you were in growing up and seeing where we're going today, I mean, it has to have a profound effect on you and your vision of where things are heading, and even that anything could be possible, things that you haven't even dreamed of because it's advancing so quickly. So, just what are your thoughts on just this whole thing exploding before our very eyes?
Well, I think the most obvious thing is that we've all been awakened to the fact that, our little red phone has the ability to reach the world. I remember in 1998, I was working for a company called UUNet, which was a big internet provider. And I was writing the documentation for Windows Net Show, which was a streaming platform internally and things. And I remember when the video started getting not just popular, but it was actually functional, because it originally was like postage stamp size, 3 frames a second. But when it began to look like things were happening and it was beginning to be more prevalent, I remember thinking, I can change the world from my basement. I'm a person of faith, and I thought, hey, man, I'm going to start a radio station. I want to make this really cool tech-driven, sports-driven radio station. And so I started something called Soulcast.net, and I think I was paying upwards of $500 a month to try this, and it was on a 56K modem. And it was just one of these things where I felt awakened to the world. And it was like, wow, I see that same response now with so many people. They're like, oh my gosh, this lets me do everything. The mistake people are making is that they look at this and they go, this is all I need, right? I do this and I start blabbing about my eggs and bacon and everything. That's not going to do it for you. You need to understand the world works on stories. Every parable we've ever heard is a framework of a story. And I forget who said it, but I think it was something along the lines of, a story is the facts wrapped in emotion. And that's really all it is. It's just trying to find a way to be compelling and engaging in a way people want to hear what you're saying, And I will say this. I think that we're approaching a milestone moment in media in general, especially with social media, because we're beginning to see the undercurrents of what social media can do when it's not when it doesn't have a guardian and it doesn't have people who are trained in terms of what I would, basic journalism. For me, I don't care what you believe, but there's always two sides to every story. We talk about it and we let you, the viewer, decide what that looks like. People these days don't want to do that. They want to just put whatever they want to put out there. And it's like they feel like they can yell in this megaphone to the world and it's all going to return to people go, oh my God, I'm going to change my opinion. Doesn't work that way, right? So great debates and things like that happen with people who know how to use it. And maybe I answer it this way. With great power comes great responsibility, and we've all been given great power now. We all have the ability to literally reach the world with our message. So,
it's funny that you mentioned that. I don't know where my prop is, so it's back here, but megaphone to the world, megaphone to the world. That actually is in my Instagram profile, megaphone to the world. I sure hope no one's actually used that because I was going to write a book called that. But I say that all the time, and you're absolutely right. It's amazing to me how this device could be used for so much more than Candy Crush Saga. Every single American that's over the age of 13 probably is carrying one of these, or almost every single American. I mean, it's just everyone's got one now. And you can change your life. You can change other people's life from wherever you're standing with this one thing. Humans have never had this power before. It's an incredible thing. And yes, you can have studios and Wirecast and multiple iPads and all this other bells and whistles, but honestly, you can do it with just this. It's just how far do you want to take it once you get started with this? But that's this right here, they need to be teaching children. They don't want to teach children that, I don't think. They want kids to go be W-2 wage earners. But, you could teach children, this is your ticket right here to an income that'll put food on your table for the rest of your life. Master this tool.
That's exactly it, because again, it's not about it being, it's the live video. It's you being seen through live video. It's a very different way to look at it. And, and think about all the great people we've learned about, on the internet who nobody knew about, who've used YouTube and other sources to show who they are and what they've got to offer the world. I mean, it's a wonderful opportunity to be seen. And it's really people who take it's the courageous factor, right? It's like, think about it. We talk about, people coming out of their shell. I don't know about you. I think we talked about it momentarily, but The Greatest Showman is like my new favorite movie. And I hate musicals, but I love this movie because it was all about coming out of your shell, not apologizing for who you are and being you. And if you think about it, that's really the core to anything, whether you're doing a presentation in your office with two people, or you're trying to do what we're doing. We're having a conversation between two people that thousands of other people are going to see. It's exactly the same.
Well, and yes, coming out of your shell, and what people that haven't come out of their shell need to understand is that no matter what you put out there, when you put it out there, there's going to be an audience for you. There's going to be people that look at what Jeff's doing and they're like, no, that's too polished. I'd rather be entertained by something a little more raw. But then there's going to be other people that are like, man, this is really awesome. He's putting on this football thing and doing the other stuff that he does, and this is what I love. There's going to be people that like somebody because they have a Southern accent. There are going to be people, there's going to be all sorts of criteria that people might not even be able to verbalize necessarily as to why they choose you when they discover your content. There's an audience for every single human being on this planet somewhere out there. It's just a matter of getting started and finding them. And once you find one, there's others to follow.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, those are subjective things. Some people like certain kinds of things. So, that's obvious. But the fact that you're doing it is where you're going to get noticed.
Exactly. And like I said, I think, I think there's some things that are obvious when you're picking and choosing and people out there are deciding who they're going to go with and what they're going to want to watch. And there's some things that are less obvious. I mean, it's just the way it is, but you've got to get started. And that's one of the things that I had a lot of fun with at Social Media Marketing World was getting the 2 or 3 people that I saw at those tables moving on their live videos, just turning it on for the first time. And I feel like I don't do that enough. And it's something that for the rest of this year and going into the future, I'm really going to focus on just getting people past the initial hurdles, because that's where all the hard work really is just getting past this.
That's exactly it. I have a really close friend who's a filmmaker, and he has these camps, and people are, for years kind of on the fringe and sidelines. And he says, don't call yourself a filmmaker, call yourself a film enthusiast until you've actually done something on a film. Then you can say you're a filmmaker. And it's exactly that. I mean, and I think the funny thing is that people, when they're with you and they see this moment where you bring them live and they're like, oh my gosh, this was, what just happened? They're going to go away knowing that it was that easy, right? And so now the real trick is building into your content, building into your message, and what is it you're trying to communicate?
Well, and what I saw in the people that I talked to at Social Media Marketing World is all of a sudden the gears started to turn. Like, I've gotten past this. Now all of a sudden I can do some amazing stuff with this stuff that I wasn't doing an hour ago. Like, I can't wait to get started. It's that kind of an experience. It really is.
It's an incredible experience. And, the great thing about being in a Social Media Marketing World is we saw every level up and down of media in terms of the technology. We saw no one's ever said this before. We've seen the single phoners, right? They're the ones just doing it themselves, all the way up to the guys running around with the Electrosonics wireless mics and the people holding lights for them and all that. But the reality is every person has their own tribe. And so if you're communicating effectively, it doesn't matter how you're doing it. As long as they can see you, you're clear and focused, there's enough light, there's nothing distracting, you're golden, and those are the basic non-negotiables. But after that, you should be free to do what you want to do there.
Yeah. So, what I'd like to move into, because we're kind of at the halfway point of the show, we're actually a little past halfway, but I'd love to move into some of the creative stuff that you're doing with Wirecast. And folks, Jeff, as he said, he's got a background, a long, extensive background in production, but again, he's learning software just like you will be out of the box and putting it to use. And this is something that you can do as well. And I wanted Jeff to share with us. I don't know if we're going to have the audio or not, but we've got some video queued up that Jeff can explain to us and tell us what's going on.
Get through this. And again, I don't know exactly where this sits because I just loaded up while we were talking here. But this is what you're seeing from my new show, A7FL Nation, where I am basically the NFL Today anchor for this really cool football league that plays tackle football without helmets or pads. And believe it or not, a lot of studies are saying this is safer because you don't put your head where it's not going to be protected, right? So the thing that for me, I found them on LinkedIn last year, and I wrote to the CEO and I said, are you nuts for playing like this? And they were like, hey, we've got great studies and people love it. I fell in love with this to the point, Todd, where I was eating at a sports restaurant after church, and I was watching this on my phone around 60 TVs with the NFL on it. And so I got really involved. I love it. This is A7FL Nation. It airs on Facebook Watch on the new premium platform on Facebook. This first edition you're seeing here came February 26th. It was put on. And what you're seeing is this is all done. This portion of the show is all done in Wirecast. So I've got an animated lower third in there that's blank. I put a layer over top of that in Photoshop with the titles on it so that I can change those dynamically. I built the graphic of the 2-window hole cut out, then the B-roll playing in the background. And then I originally had built a 3D field, and that's what you're seeing there. And this is Wirecast in real time. So when I do my interviews with our players and coaches, this is what it looks like when I walk away. So I've got a Blackmagic Design, I think it's called a Studio Mini. It's $700 SDI based device where I can record on an SD card what I record. So I'm not trying to overload my 5K, my iMac 5K. And when I come away with it, the great thing is when you've got it set up in the right way, you don't have to worry about it. You're done. Now you can get into the editing process. And so, what you're seeing here, this is all Wirecast playing in real time. It's basically sit down like we're doing right now, and then you go for it, and hopefully you have a great interview. And if not, you find somebody else to interview, right? So
yeah, it's awesome. I love what I'm seeing here. So I had to do some this is one of those in the live video moments where I had to create a new shot in order, because when you put that up, I've got you scaled a little bit bigger, so the sides were cut off, so I had to create another shot and bring it in, but it was gorgeous once I did that. But it's just great stuff. I love what you're doing. But I mean, and you use Wirecast Pro, or are you using the Wirecast Studio?
Yeah, no, I have Wirecast Pro.
Okay.
And I that it was worth the money for the need that I had for it. And, my understanding is, obviously they're working every iteration. They've got new things. NAB is coming up. I'm hopeful that there's going to be some really new features. I've kind of heard under the radar that there's some things to look for. But I think for me, this is really the de facto product for me to do what I do. I was over a year on Mimo Live right when it first came out. And I thought the thing I like about Mimo versus Wirecast is that there are a lot of effects, and it seems to have a kind of a more creative feel to it. You can kind of see, for lack of better verbiage, the Mac mindset maybe in that software. But Wirecast, on the other hand, you can tell there's an incredible amount of intelligence put into the software, and you can tell they're working on it. And that is an important thing, because you don't, if your shows are not working, you're dead in the water. So yeah. I know that some people have had challenges. I've had a couple with Rendezvous. But the reality is that I know they're listening, and they're really working hard to make this great software. And I think they're positioned to really own the market, because at the buy-in and the price point that it is, especially with adding things as they go, it's only going to get better. So,
and you say that, and did you ever try? Is it Livestream? Livestream seems pretty strong. I don't know much about them, but they seem like the only contender other than Wirecast or Telestream.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I have not used Livestream, but from what I have seen, it looks incredible. But it's an Apple-esque ecosystem, because obviously they've got their hardware and their software, and I mean, there's a whole buy-in to it. But I'm sure it's an incredible platform. And so, obviously when I talk about Wirecast being a leader, I'm talking in the freeform apps that you can do video
sure.
with, those kind of things. But Livestream, obviously a big contender.
How about OBS? Let's briefly touch on OBS. Do you ever play with that?
I have not had a lot of time on it, but I have been curious about it because I see a lot of people talking about it. I did download it for a moment. And, the great thing is, from what I'm seeing, a lot of people are really happy with it. I mean, they're like, this works. And so you can't argue with that. I think for me, it's got that WordPress feel to it from the website of me, where it's open source. You can do some things with it, but be ready, because there's nobody to really call if the thing breaks. And if you need help, you'll get it, but it may take a day or two to find out what you're looking for. So, I mean, it all depends on what you're trying to do with it, right? But OBS is obviously a big choice that a lot of people use. For me, I opt to want to try to spend, if I have it, a little more toward getting something that's going to get me where I want to go, than trying to just always look at it in terms of what the cost is, because your time is a cost as well. Yep. If you're charging $250 an hour and you're spending 8 hours working on something, trying to get the knobs right to save $300, is that really a smart decision? So, I mean, you have to weigh that. But no, so far I've been really happy with Wirecast.
I'm completely with you. I did start on OBS. I did a few videos with it, but there were some problems with it that I couldn't iron out. The tech support on the, it's open source, so there's all sorts of people that play with it and tweak it, and there's no tech support. When I saw Wirecast $500 extra 100, and I get the telephone number for the next year, it was like boom. That's what I'm doing, because you're right. Time is money. And if I value my time at $100 an hour, let's say, and I spend 5 hours screwing around with OBS, I've now paid for Wirecast. So it made sense. It was a very easy move for me, but you're right. People do get hung up on the price, and there are people out there. I know people that do great OBS work, but
I've seen it too. I mean, it's incredible, but again, it's just that everybody's different. If someone says, hey, it works for me, do they have the same computer? Is it the same year? Is it the same firmware? I mean, there's a million different things to go through. But, for what I wanted, because of my work, I wanted to get past the technology always being a barrier. So right. I built the room that I'm in, and I've got 7 lights in this little 8x8 square. I've got the desk actually from my first radio station at Soulcast that I use for all this. And I sit down, I'm able to flip switches, connect with people like you, record it, make it look the way I want it to look. And then I can get on to doing the creative part, which is where you're going to earn your living, because it's not going to be in just being on camera. We've already said that. So for me, I just wanted the ease of being able to do it and make it look good, get it as close as I can, and then we'll tweak it in post, right? So
yeah. I'll tell you something. people out there, if they're not already live streaming, they don't quite realize how many knowledge bombs you're dropping left and right in this broadcast. Normally, I don't go listen and replay my broadcasts, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to be, I mean, whether it's talking about live streaming or even just wisdom in general, there were some things that you said a while back that, I mean, I'm going to get a notepad out and listen to this interview again, because I mean, there's a lot of little fine points that are just like huge, that if you're a live streamer out there and you're watching the show, whether you're with us now or in replay, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're getting started, make sure, folks, if you're one of the people that's getting started in live video, cue this one up in about 6 months after you get started and listen again, because there's so much wisdom here. It's unreal. Jeff, so what are your plans? Where do you want to take this?
Well, you know, I am a big fan of the underdog. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I would love to see A7FL, this grassroots American football league that's got, you know, teams in 6 states right now. I would love to see it go national, and every indication is it looks like that. I mean, they posted a video on Facebook Watch 2 weeks ago that's got over 1 million views. They've had crazy numbers because their gameplay is so cool. I would love to see them grow, and I'd like to obviously grow with them, because I believe I like to be a voice for that kind of thing. And like I said, I love the underdog. So for me, that's one of my projects, is A7FL Nation, and really trying to add some credibility to what this great league is doing. And, you know, beyond that, like I said, I love news. I do for business enterprise, people that want to learn about video. I will teach their company how to do it, and then I'll do the part they can't. We'll team together, make a great show, whether it's magazine or news or whatever. And then it's just a matter of, you know, going from there and really looking at where, you know, technology and trends are going. And you'll obviously find a place, and that's, you know, that's where I plan to be, is right at the front of it, because I love it.
I think it's awesome, dude. And I'm so happy that I met you at Social Media Marketing World. I think that as far as video goes, you know, we do a lot of different stuff, but we, you know, we're flying at, you know, kind of we're paralleling each other in a lot of ways. And I'm definitely going to, you know, I got Wirecast Pro when I was at Social Media Marketing World, and I'm going to be pushing the limits on that and trying to teach myself. And, you know, I'll probably be picking your brain from time to time on some of this stuff, because I'm just dazzled by what you do. And I want to know how to use this product. I mean, I just want to be one of the guys that knows how to use it. I mean, there's something really cool about that to me, to be quite honest with you.
You know, there is, you know, and it's one of the challenges, just to be honest with you, Todd, one of the challenges I've got with Digital Heroes is that I've had a lot of interest in it. There have been definite great things to come from it. A lot of people I've trained, but the reality is the majority of people, I don't think, either think they need help, or they look at a price tag. I think right now I've got it on a month subscription for like $4.99. Right. And they're like, gosh, that's a lot of money. But the reality is, I had one guy tell me in Atlanta here a couple weeks ago, he says, in 20 minutes, you got me 3.5 years down the road from watching YouTube videos. And it's because it's actually what we're doing right now. It's live. I don't make YouTube videos. I don't have, I think I have 4 followers on my YouTube channel, and I don't know why they would do that. There's not a lot there, but just work that I put in from the past. But the reality is, it's one-on-one. I can look at it immediately and say, hey, move that light to the front. You know, I had one person I was working with who had umbrella lights from the, you know, the 90s, which is where you had this light source and this big umbrella, just like,
sure.
You know, but they had the light aiming like if the mic was them. They had the umbrella on this side. And it's not like we're laughing or anything like that, but I was like, hey, wow. And they're like, oh, wow. How much is that worth? You spend 3 months trying to figure out why you look dingy and dark and you can't hear yourself, and you're wondering why your message is kind of messed up, and what are the nonverbals and all that. So to me, I think it's extremely affordable if you want to get where you're going effectively and quickly. It's just a matter of whether or not you see the value in it. And so that's your decision.
You know, there's one I have, well, there's a couple that I have that when I drop them, people are just like blown away. And just like that, when you turning the umbrella, there's 2 of them that I can think of right off the top of my head. First, I can't tell you how many times a live stream, even proficient live streamers have said, I can't get the pixelation, I can't get the mouth and the sound to sync. And the first thing I say is, are you connecting with a Wi-Fi device, or are you connecting with an Ethernet cable? And they're like, they know the answer. They know their Wi-Fi. It's like it never occurred to them to just plug their computer into a hard wire. And they contact me and they're like, oh my God, it changed my life. It all of a sudden, boom, that one. And then there was one more. Lighting. You said you have 7 lights. I think I have 7 lights in my room. First couple times I went live, I had to walk around the room and reach and figure out it. Instead, I got them all on extension cords, and they all go to one power switch that's right here beside my computer monitor, and I can hit one button and they all turn on and they all turn off. And there's so many people I know in live streaming that are still turning each light on individually. And it's just like little things that just make your life nicer when you go live.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing. If you don't have the dedicated space, that's completely understandable, right?
Yep.
The more variables you introduce, especially when you're trying to climb the ladder a little bit and do a little bit more, every one of those things has the potential to add value to you or take some value away, right? So if you can get those lights finally where you look kind of balanced and even and you got the look you like, you leave them that way. Now you don't have to worry about that part. You're always going to look consistent and great and brilliant and beautiful and those kind of things. So there's a big advantage to doing that. But some people are terrified to put holes in little things. My wife knows I have cut 3 and 4 foot holes in the walls and things like that. I've done everything I wanted to do, and then I fix it and we keep moving because drywall will not keep me from my destiny. That's how I look at it, right? You know, you build what you want to build, and then it's all worth it. So if you have the ability to do it and the space to do it, man, set yourself up in a place you know you can set down, and then when it's all quiet and you're there, you can begin thinking about what am I going to talk about? Who do I want to talk to? What is my message? And that's where you get close. And I don't know. I don't say this to sound strange, but I don't know if you've noticed, but I've only momentarily this whole interview taken my eyes off the camera. I was trained that way, but the reality is that it feels different when you're actually looking at somebody versus this for 15 minutes at a time or this for 15 minutes at a time. So all these nonverbals will begin to communicate you connecting with someone. And so they're all important. And like I said in the beginning, little things along the way mean big things later when they're all put together.
Completely true. And words of wisdom, my friends. This has been one of the best broadcasts I've done in a while with an interview because, I mean, we've talked about some high-tech stuff, but we've also talked about just the ground level, the things that you can think about at the very bottom once you become a live streamer, they make your life a whole lot easier when you figure these things out. The other thing I do, I have all my audio equipment is all on one switch too. So that I'm not turning on a mixer and a compressor and a this and a that. It's all on, when you can put things all on one switch, it's amazing what that does. Hey, Jeff, tell people where they can find you and connect with you if they'd like to learn more and look at possibly getting a live video education.
Absolutely. Before I go there, I just want to take 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Thing. I don't look at this as someone being on the ground level and going up. We think of that a lot of times, like, oh, I'm only down here and I can do this much, or I want to get up there with where somebody else is. I look at it like you're on this side of the wilderness and there's the promised land and there's giants in the middle of it, but we know that's your promised land and you need to go for that even though there are giants, right? So it's a horizontal move. It's not a vertical move. It's not a hierarchy of who's better and who's got more to offer. The reality is that we're all equally on this earth that's horizontal, and it's going from here to there, and I can help get you there. And the website that will do that for you is www.digitalheroes.tv. You'll see there's some biopics that I have in there about myself, but the reality is it's not about me. It is about you because you're the hero of your story, but every great hero needs a mentor. And I want to help you get there. And that's the media training side of me. We haven't said this yet, but I go by Jeff in High Def. That's the name of my business, jeffinhighdef.com. Yep. If you've got more corporate production, broadcast, things like that you'd like to talk about, I do production all over the place. And a new one I've offered here recently that's in soft launch right now, I'll share with your viewers.
Yeah.
It's www.clickfame.tv. And this is where, for a fee, I can do a story about you, and I'll bring you up just like you saw with Wirecast. I'll interview you. I've already got a great story on there about predictive analytics and big data. And it is one of these things where if you want to get known and you want to get noticed and you're not sure you want to do it on your own with live video, I'm your host, and I'll interview and walk you through it.
That's awesome. I love that idea. I don't know anybody doing that. That's fabulous, dude. I love it.
Like it's taken off with the people I'm showing it to. So got a little bit more I want to do with it, but it's going to be cool.
Awesome. Hey, Jeff, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be on Entrepreneur Live Video. I love that we met at Social Media Marketing World. And, it's just great having another live streamer out there to get to know and to learn off of and to be friends with and to, be part. I mean, it's a community and we're all part of bringing others into it. And we all are doing it in our own style with our own twist. And it's just great to know another live streamer.
No, and that's it. We all learn from each other. And the reality is you're my best reason to come to LA. So there you go.
Hey, I love it. And we'll have to do some sort of in-studio thing. You do it, and we'll make that happen.
Awesome.
Hey, take care, Jeff. Folks on the podcast, thank you for listening. Jeff Fitzgerald, you heard, and listen again. Get your clipboard out, get your notepad out and your pen, and take notes. This podcast was full of great information for you guys. I'm going to be doing the same myself. Until next time, folks, have a great day. See you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to Entrepreneur Live Video with Todd.LIVE. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit www.todd.live and on facebook.com/Todd.LIVE page. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on Entrepreneur Live Video with Todd.LIVE.